Okay, thanks again for your patience. We're going to be talking about making basic graphics for Facebook. I'm Doug Foote. I'm the Social Media and Campaign Associate at Working America. I run the social media properties and the mobile program for Working America. If you'd like to tweet along with the presentation, we're using 1U Digital. 1U is the hashtag for anything union related on Twitter, and 1U Digital is what we're using for these trainings. So if you're interested in sharing things you learned or following the conversation, you can use 1U Digital. It's right there at the bottom of your screen. As I said, I'm the Social Media and Campaign Associate. If you'd like to follow, take a look at some of the graphics that we've made for our campaigns, you can see them on our Facebook page, Twitter at Working America, and occasionally I share things on my personal Twitter, which is Footsteps. I'd also like to wish a big thank you to the New Organizing Institute and Sarah Baker. I took a great 2-day training at NOI a few months ago. Sarah Baker was one of the main trainers. I would recommend it to anyone when it comes back around. It's relatively inexpensive, just 2 days, and it's a real great crash course in doing some of these graphics. And you can follow them at New Organizing and at Baker BK. So after this training, you should be able to, or hopefully you'll be able to, identify sources of free images. You'll know some of the basic image dimensions for different social platforms, particularly Facebook. You'll know a little bit more about basic principles of design, and you'll be able to create some very basic graphics to share on Facebook and other platforms. And I should add, with free tools, free images, and free editing tools. And here's our agenda. And we're going to go straight through, and if you have questions, we're going to pause at the end of each section. John is sitting next to me, receiving your notes, and he'll let me know at the end of each section if there are questions.
Hi, everybody.
So why are we talking about graphics? More and more, for whether it's social media or whether it's just basic websites, we're concerned much more with visual presentation. Even just, in the last few years, if you've looked at sites like Facebook and how they've evolved, as people get more and more big screens, computers can better handle complex images, more people have smartphones with really great definition. It's more and more important to have really beautiful images and really compelling images on your sites. If you compare, even just presenting news, if you compare something like the New York Times website to something newer like Vox, you can see how much having great visual presentation matters. And it's not just Facebook. Also, for basic tweets, you have 140 characters, but having an image that can, as they say 1,000 words, it really helps make your tweets go farther and can really convey more. This is one of our more successful tweets in the past few weeks, with 117 retweets at that time, with images from the fast food strike. And the numbers don't lie. These are just the numbers for Twitter, but with photos, your tweets with photos are more likely to be retweeted and reshared. Facebook often promotes images above other types of content. So if you want to get your post seen, which is harder and harder these days with the different algorithm changes, images are your best option. So as communicators, we want to think about the questions that we've always thought about. How do I get a great 30-second ad? how do I make a great newsletter, direct mail piece, blog post, and then think about how folks are receiving information. They're scrolling through their news feed, you know, any point in time, whether they're waiting in line for the grocery store, they're on a break, they're just opening up Facebook or Instagram or their favorite try that. Unmute you.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
All right, sorry about that.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. So how do you stop scrolling through your news feed? So let's talk first about how do I make my images look good. And here's where we're going to get a little bit into basic design concepts. These will be helpful later. It might seem a little dry at first, but let's go through them. I'm going to teach you some CRAP. And CRAP is the how we talk about contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. These are sort of the basic design concepts that we'll be talking about. This is a great infographic I found from designer Alexander Guo, and it's about these 4 concepts of design, and in the graphic he uses the basic concepts of design. And we'll take a look after this section to see how he did that. So first, contrast. This is a very simple graphic from Credo. It probably didn't take an expert designer to make, just 2 different colors and some text. But because the person who made this wanted to convey the sharp contrast between these 2 numbers and the injustice there, just using those 2 very different colors did the trick. If this was all in just a white background with black text, it might not have that gut punch effect. But as you can see, this really conveys what you want to do. So contrast is necessary to get those people to stop scrolling because it naturally draws their eyes in there. And you can have contrast with colors, different shapes, sizes, fonts, thicknesses, and when you want an effective eye-grabbing graphic, you want to avoid subtle differences. If you have sort of white text on a gray background and they're very similar, they're not going to be able to see it as well as something as sharp as this. And again, think about, a lot of you don't think of yourselves as expert designers or anything like that. This is very effective and doesn't take a ton of skill. So don't sell yourself short. Again, thinking about contrast, you might have a cool background you might want to use, or some different colors. But unless that important information, like we see here, is showing up on that background, people are not going to see it. It's not going to come across as clearly, and they're not going to stop scrolling, or their eyes won't be grabbed. So you see that making the background different makes a world of difference with these infographics. Their second aspect is repetition, using the same elements over and over to convey a message in a theme. So this is definitely effective for talking about statistics, like this one from This Is Personal about the minimum wage workers. Anyone can understand the idea that's coming across there.
I'm very sorry about that. Oop. I have just done that myself. Sorry, folks. My fault. Okay, there we go.
And also just something more artistic. Here's the quote from Thomas Edison, and you have 99 little drops of sweat, and then after all that sweat, you have one little idea. And that little light bulb is way more effective when you see, all the things that lead toward it. Repetition also is good for branding and also can save you time. Here are a couple of graphics I made for our campaign for the minimum wage in Arkansas. And the idea here is that, you notice this in companies' different branding. You see the same colors, the same font combinations, and some of the same shapes over and over. You start to associate things with it. So, the next time someone is scrolling through and they see, something with a similar color scheme, that shape of Arkansas, they will, quickly associate it with us and sort of know better what it's about. And if they are compelled by this issue, then they're more likely to stop and look and see what we're saying. And this also saves you time as designers, because I have this shape of Arkansas already. I have sort of this basic template, and next time I want to share something along the lines of this campaign, you just go in and edit a couple of items, and it's a great time saver. And another couple of groups that do this very well are of course the Obama campaign, using some of that big iconic text every time, no matter if it's immigration or they're talking about minimum wage. You can see a lot of common elements being repeated. And also I've noticed the Ed Fitzgerald's gubernatorial campaign has a great Facebook page. They have lots of graphics with sort of those repeating elements, the same color, the same fonts, that really help the person who's looking at it instantly associate it with that campaign. The third aspect is alignment. That's just the idea of you think through where you place everything. You see this website, this MailChimp website, everything is very deliberately placed. They have that ask to sign up front. They want to convey how easy it is, so easy email newsletters is very large. This is really useful when you think about designing an event flyer. I'm sure you've seen many, many event flyers in your day as folks who work for unions. When you're designing one of them, you think about what's the most important information. Is it the date? Is it the name of the lead speaker? Are you unintentionally drawing the eye away from that important information by having something, some like lesser information presented much bigger or much clearer? This is why we think about alignment, deliberately placing all the elements. And finally, proximity, the P in CRAP, is grouping those related elements together and conveying that information is related by how close things are. So in this right to work graphic from EPI, if we had the wage information placed somewhere else up near the states, and then that little that stack of dollars in the green dot was somewhere unrelated, it would be harder to figure out what this is about. But you have that map, you have the key up front, right up the top there with the map. You see that the checkered blue is one kind of thing, and the other kind of blue is another kind of thing. And then below you have those three really well-presented pieces of information down there, and having, placing those elements where you're placing them conveys the relationship. And some of this might seem like common sense, but whoever designed this was definitely thinking about proximity. So again, we go back to this this design infographic. You now know about contrast. You see that the big black lettering on the orange shows up really well. You see those yellow boxes repeated. Those are the 4 different elements. Your eye kind of understands that. They contrast between each other with the different shades of yellowish orange there. The contrast information is under contrast, and so on. They have that proximity, and they're all aligned correctly. This would look very strange if these boxes were all strangely situated all over the place, but having them right in a line makes it really easy for your eye to understand. So before we go on, do we have any questions?
See anything?
Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to where do you find images. This image was free. I didn't pay for it. It's not. I didn't steal it either. I got this from a free image site. It's big and beautiful. You don't have to spend zillions of dollars finding images. It may sound dismissive to say the best thing to do is Google it, but sometimes that is the best way. I was Googling, where to find free images. I found this great resource on the Buffer App blog with a huge list of free image sources that helps to this day. One of my favorites is searching Creative Commons content on Flickr. Flickr is a site for photos, and a lot of photographers share their images this way. And Creative Commons is a certain kind of license that allows you to use an image. You can change it in some way as long as you give attribution. So a couple times we'll be reminding you to make sure if you use an image that someone else owns, but they just want attribution, please give it. And it doesn't have to distract from the rest of the image. This is something we made to celebrate Seattle, having that plan to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. You see this awesome Seattle skyline that I found on Creative Commons Flickr, and it's from the Seattle Municipal Archives account. So we just have that in the corner. That's what the license says, share, free to adapt and use with attribution. We're following that. Again, here's beautiful Vermont, where they also raise the minimum wage. The photo is by the Flickr user, Mr. Laugh. I give him attribution right there in the corner. So you have tons and tons of photos right at your fingertips, and all you have to do is give a little shout out to the person who posted up there. Again, that's search.creativecommons.org. There are a couple different sites to look through. I mostly use Flickr. And here are, from that list, that big, very useful list, the 53 plus image sources I found on the Buffer App blog. Here are a couple examples. Unsplash and Depth to the Stock Photo are lists that you can sign up for to get 10 or a dozen or so big free images every week. So they don't all have to do with worker stuff. It's not like all labor protests, obviously. But I put them in a folder, and then when I'm looking for a free image that might pertain to the campaign we're working on, I look through it. We were doing a campaign to talk about how workers at a certain company don't have a path to advancement, and I used a free photo that I'd found of a dark winding road. And the copy on it talked about how the path wasn't like, is there really a path to advancement, something like that. So even pictures of landscapes, of some of these more common free things that you'll see out there can be useful to you for how you're going to convey an idea. But also don't forget about all those photos on Facebook that allied organizations post up there, people tweeting photos. If you're looking for photos of Moral Monday in North Carolina and elsewhere, I mean, you can just have it's almost a second-by-second account of what's happening from all the people tweeting photos of it. Topsy.com is a great way to search for photos through Twitter. So give that a shot. And Instagram, everyone all over the world posting pictures of everything you can imagine with cool photo filters. So it's already looking a little bit better than it would otherwise. And if you're at a desktop, Webstagram is a great way to search through Instagram photos because it's mostly a mobile platform. And remember, give attribution. We want to respect the people who produced this originally, and if they, I know of at least one photographer who named Gage Skidmore who takes pictures of Republican politicians at various events. He makes his photos available on Flickr with Creative Commons. All he asks is that you give attribution, and he's actually made a little bit of a career. And that's just one person that I know about because, we work with a lot of pictures of those governors and such that he photographs at CPAC and other places. Don't give attribution, kind of disrespecting the work that they've done, which is not something we want to do. So those are some free image sources. Let's quickly talk about best size, best dimensions for Facebook. You always want to think about what it's going to look like through the end user. It's going to be either them on their phone with a couple minutes to spare, or on a break at work, scrolling through their Facebook feed. So you want to always keep that in mind. You want to optimize your images for that. For a link image, like this one for the Guardian article about Walmart protests, you're looking at 400 by 209 as the optimal size. For more of a share graphic, perfectly square photo is great, especially for mobile. That presents itself as 400 by 400.
I'm going to mute everybody and then. Okay, go for it.
Okay. There's a great site that I use for a lot of Facebook facts, John Loomer Digital, johnloomer.com. He made this great, a couple of great charts that I just print out and keep by my desk in case I need to be reminded. And you gotta be careful because Facebook keeps changing these dimensions. They keep fine-tuning their site. So, for instance, those link images used to be much smaller, and you used to not be able to upload or change them in any way. So I'm sure you might have seen, you post an article from a local newspaper about minimum wage ordinance, and the photo comes up as, Kim Kardashian's wedding or something because that's one of the ads that's on the site. So to avoid that kind of situation, you can now upload your own photo, no matter if you control the link or not. And that's something that we could, if you want to talk about that later, that's more of a social media guideline thing. But anyway, you see John Loomer has the how big the photos appear in Newsfeed, how big they appear in mobile. If you're making a sidebar image for a Facebook ad, and then sort of the recommended and the ratio you want to use. So for a photo, he says 1200 by 900. It's sort of a nice rectangle. I find that great for Facebook for both mobile and desktop. This one we made to congratulate Michigan for raising their minimum wage was that size. And it really, when you click on it, it really fills the screen nicely. I recommend that or something perfectly square. Any questions?
Are these pixels?
Oh, yes, sorry. PX stands for pixels. And in In most image editing programs, even free ones, you can go in and say, I want a photo that's exactly X size, and you can sort of put in the exact number you want. And I know programs like Photoshop say if you put in 1200 by 900 pixels, you could figure out how many inches and such that is.
We have another question. Do you make graphics right on Facebook page or upload them already made?
Upload them already made. There are a couple of different options to do that, and actually that's our next segment. So thank you for the segue. We're going to talk about the actual process of making these. I wanted to give this as an example, this little cartoon with the copy on it. It's one of our most successful, most shared graphics ever, with 36,000 people. This is, again, isn't a sort of thing that takes a lot of expert, intricate design skills. The person is probably from some sort of stock art, and then they wrote the copy themselves. So that's just to keep everyone to keep in mind that it's really about, ultimately, it's about the content. A thing doesn't have to look like the most intricately designed graphic to really go wild. I mean, 36,000 shares, that's over 1 million people saw this just from our page. So that's just something to keep in mind.
We have another one here.
Yeah.
Lisa Zellner, I'm not a graphic designer. How do I make nice visuals like this?
Oh, Lisa, we're about to talk about that. And if you have PowerPoint, that's one way to start out. A lot of folks have Office, and PowerPoint's included in there. It's how I made this presentation. But what you can do is use some of those basic tools in PowerPoint to arrange text on photos and take a screenshot of it and then have that as a file to upload to Facebook. So for instance, this is how it looks when you first get in there to PowerPoint. But you can take one of those free image sources we talked about. You get a nice photo of Rich Trumka in there, and this photo is from the AFL-CIO Facebook page. We're gonna, if you credit the photo via Facebook, AFL-CIO on Facebook, I'm sure that that works well. We take images from state fed, Facebook pages, different unions. A lot of people take great photos of worker actions. If you credit them, that works great. So I just put a text box here and put one of my favorite Rich Trumka quotes. I make the copy of the quote a little bit bigger, and then I put who said it and indent it a little. Now I can't see this white writing very well, and we've talked about contrast before. So I'm going to make that text contrast a little bit better with what's beneath it. So I'm going to go up here to shapes. I'm going to take a big rectangle. I'm going to make a big rectangle over it. But now I've covered my writing, so what do? I right-click on that blue rectangle, and I want to send it backward. When you have a bunch of different elements in PowerPoint on top of each other, and you're not sure which, and PowerPoint doesn't know, what order they want them in, you can use this tool that's either send to back. You can send it all the way back, which would put it behind the picture of Rich Trumka, but we don't want that. We're going to send it backward one layer. So it'll go behind that text. And now, there you have it. Now the next part is where it's different for each platform. What I like to do is I have a PC at work. I like to hit the print screen button on my keyboard. That copies everything that's on your screen to, I'm not thinking of the word, clipboard. And then I open something like MS Paint, which is like a free program that comes on every PC, paste it in there, and crop it so I get the rest of the PowerPoint stuff out of the way. Then I can save the image as a file and upload it to Facebook. On a Mac, there's an even easier way to do this. If you do Shift-Command-4, your mouse cursor will turn into a little target, and you can draw a square around what you want to capture, and then it makes an image file on your desktop of what you just took a picture of. So that's really useful. Both these techniques are really useful anytime you see something on your screen that you want to capture. Sometimes I use it if I have a problem with my computer and I want to show IT exactly what it is. You can take a picture of your screen that way by hitting print screen and pasting it into something like Paint. Is there any questions about making images with PowerPoint?
Don't see anything.
Oh, great. There's another great tool for taking screenshots of things, and it's called Skitch. And you can find it at skitch.com. It's free. It's actually a lot of the Upworthy link images use this. It's like a very basic take a picture of your screen and then you can point arrows to it and write on it and that sort of thing. And I find it really user-friendly. And if I have not a lot of time, I don't have time to do anything complicated, it works out really well. And it has sort of that grassrootsy, I just made this kind of look. There's only one font available. There are only a couple of options, but it's really simple to use. So I want to make an image calling out North Carolina Governor McCrory for some of the stuff he's doing in North Carolina. There have been these huge protests almost weekly. They've produced thousands of great images, many of them on free sites like Flickr, Creative Commons Flickr, Twitter, that sort of thing. So I find this great photo, and I open up my Skitch. I click where it says Screen Snap. I get this target cursor. I can draw a square around what I want to copy on there, and it captures it in the program. So now I can add arrows. I can add some basic text. If you go down the line, you have your arrows, your text. You can draw shapes. You can highlight things. If it's something like you want to take a screenshot of text that has a very bad bill or something problematic, and do like highlight little, like you're actual highlighting it on a piece of paper, but on an image or something like that. You can change the size. You can crop it however you want it to get the your intended size, and you can pixelate things out. So I added this. Showing all these people, Governor McCrory, will you listen to these people? This took maybe 5 minutes to make for the demonstration for this presentation. And again, you want to make sure and highlight that attribution. You want to make sure Flickr user T.W. Buckner, who went to this presentation or went to this protest and took this picture, you want to give him credit, him or her. Oh, sorry. Any questions on GIMP? Or I mean Skitch. They all have strange names.
One person had a question as to how to get there. I put in skitch.com and it redirected to evernote.com.skitch, so I can share that with everybody.
Great. One more note on Skitch. If you are a user of Evernote, which is helps you save links and different things, it's a product of Evernote, so it integrates really well. And if you use that program to save links and images and screenshots and things, it integrates straight to it. but otherwise you can go up to where it says Skitch, and you have the option to save image as, and then you can save the image file wherever you want and upload it to Facebook or whatever your preferred platform is.
No other questions?
So option 3, and again, I want to point out there are probably lots of other free image editing tools that I've never heard of, but here are just 3 options. Again, they're all free of charge. I use PowerPoint right now. I think it's a great investment, but if you're just starting out, PowerPoint's pretty intimidating and it's somewhat expensive. You can pay a monthly fee, but again, you're still spending a lot of money ultimately. So PowerPoint, a lot of people have with Office. Skitch is free, and GIMP, our third tool, is free. GIMP is sort of a free, stripped-down version of Photoshop, and can actually do a lot of the same stuff without the cost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a bunch of screenshots of how to do a basic infographic for Facebook with GIMP. And a lot of these things can be replicated with something more complicated like Photoshop, but I did want to show just how much you can do with a free tool. And for me, we didn't have Photoshop for a long time. I didn't know much about design, and I started designing basic stuff with GIMP, and eventually I got to a point where GIMP didn't have everything I needed, and then we had the conversation about getting the more complicated tool. But for GIMP, let's walk through this. Let's do one of those square images. That's great for Facebook and mobile and Instagram. Let's make it 960 by 960, so when it shrinks down to that 400 by 400 we talked about earlier, it'll still look really great and be really high definition and expand when you click on it. I also like to do this advanced options and make sure it's filled with transparency. That means otherwise it'll have a white background, and you don't always want something that's filled with colors. So transparency means it's completely empty and there's nothing in it. So then I want to look for my base image. Let's make something let's make something asking Scott Walker to raise the minimum wage in Wisconsin. So I found this great one from Gage Skidmore, who I talked about earlier. I'm going to go over into this little option and download it, and I'm going to download the large size. And that'll save to somewhere I choose, like my documents or my desktop or something. We're going to go back to GIMP. We're going to open it as layers. So one of the things GIMP tries to copy about Photoshop is this idea of having different elements in different layers, so you can edit them individually. When we were in PowerPoint and we had to send that rectangle behind the text, that's the sort of thing that the layer option is trying to do. So we want that image, but we want it as a layer. And it's really, really huge and much bigger than my allotted area. And we don't want an image of just his nose and mouth and ear. We might not want an image of him to look at all, but that's kind of what we're doing here. So we're gonna go under layer. We're gonna scale the layer. We're gonna make it more appropriate size, and then we end up with this. The original image was a rectangle, and you can move it around using this little target symbol that we have selected on the left up here. Sort of move it around and get to highlight the correct stuff you want to highlight. I want his face there, but I also want some space to the left of him to put some text. So you can see here we have the layer interface here. where it says background and then the image. I wanted to make sure, so I don't forget, I put Photo by Gage Skidmore on Flickr in the bottom left, and then I want workingamerica.org on the other side. We talked about repetition and consistency and brand recognition. I try to have every image we produce says workingamerica.org in that corner, in that font, and in that color, if possible. So when folks see that, they know where it's from. It's also good because folks all over the internet use your images. Work in America's Facebook page uses images from AFL-CIO and Our Time, and sometimes Credo, and sometimes other unions, sometimes other 98%, Jobs with Justice, these great organizations and Facebook pages that have a lot of great graphics, and we give attribution, but not everyone is necessarily going to do that. So it's great to have something in the image that says what your organization is, who made the graphic. So he doesn't look scary enough, I think, and also I want the copy, the text on this to really pop. So I'm going to select his layer up there on the side, and I'm going to desaturate it. I'm going to make it black and white. So here's him in black and white. Any text I have around him is going to show up much better. You can already see the Working America in the corner is much clearer. And then I'm going to put my my text in there using the text tool on the side, where that big letter A on the left side is your text tool. And we have one layer that says Gov Walker, because I want to have it a little bit different. I want it to have a different size and font. And then another layer is the text that has time to raise the wage for Wisconsin. I think this is pretty good right now. I would feel comfortable posting this as is, but I do want to see that copy a little bit better. The text is white and it sort of shows up on gray, but I'd love to make that contrast even sharper. So even if your standard person is scrolling by it really quick, they can see it a little better. So I'm going to I look at my layers here. I'm going to add a layer, and the other thing to note about this is the order that the layers are stacked in is the order that they're stacked on the actual image. So all that text is above. All those text layers are above the layer of the original photo. You can see if they were below it, if I dragged, one of the text layers below it, it would disappear because that big photo is blocking it. So I want to add a layer between the image and the copy. And so I did that in my layer interface, and then I went up and made a rectangle around that text. And then I'm going to select the gradient box. It's that box that looks kind of shaded. It's not. It looks like it's a shape tool, but it's a gradient tool. And I'm going to take the opacity down a smidge, so you can sort of still see what's below the color, but it's sort of clear. And you drag it around, and you get something like this. So, oops. So again, that copy is much, contrasts much better with this blue than it does with just the regular gray. And so when you're scrolling through quickly, or you don't have a lot, people aren't paying as much attention, it's much clearer what this is. So we have this image ready. We want to go to Facebook. We want to export it. You want to save the image as somewhere on your computer. It'll ask you these questions. I don't know what they mean, so you say export. You go to your Facebook page. You click on photo or video. You say upload video. You select it from wherever you saved it in. It'll load. It'll appear as a little box like this. and then you put in your copy. You don't want too much if it's important to have some background there. You want to put it in there, but you definitely want to urge people to go to that link, which is a petition or whatever you want people to go to. And having it as a bit.ly link allows you to track how many people clicked on it. And it shows a bit like this. It's big. It's very clear what it's about. There's that link attached to it. When people share it, that link stays with it. The link in the copy stays with it. There's no doubt what this image is asking you to do. I have the contrast. The box and the text are aligned right next to his head. It's not too close. It's not cutting his ear off, which would distract. The image, the information is grouped together. There's not a lot of information, but so I have my contrast, my repetition, my alignment, and my proximity working here. All right. Do you folks who have questions? I did not put this Jennifer Lawrence here. It is the maker of the template, but.
We had a question a little while ago. Doug, please suggest some go-to fonts that are good for graphics.
All right. Well, if I had more time, we'd talk about, let's see, serif graphics and sans serif fonts. Serif fonts and sans serif fonts. I don't know all the technical terms, but serif fonts, like Times New Roman, have those little squiggles on those little embellishments on the edges of them, and sans serif, or like without serif, I guess, is just straight up fonts like Helvetica that are just a letter and nothing else fancy. You can choose whatever fonts work for you. I saw when we redesigned the Work in America website, a lot of the header text was in Bitter, which is the same font that the words Gov Walker is in. And I Googled around and I was like, what goes well with Bitter? And I can't overstate. It's sometimes, people are like, hey, just Google it, and sort of a dismissive thing, but it really does help. And I found this other font called Railway, and it says it works really well with Bitter because you have one that's serif and one that's sans serif. And I like to put them together. Look at your organization's website, see what they use there. In an ideal world, your branding is consistent across any platform so that, your graphics will have some similar elements to your website and to your Facebook page, and it'll all seem like a cohesive thing. Campaigns like the Obama campaign, and then really any company that's out there doing a lot of communication work does this as well. They have specific style guides to how they present everything, so it's consistent. So those are the fonts I like, but there are a lot of different options.
One person said, how do you get the text on the image? That goes back several steps when you had different layers showing, and from one scene to the next, you had the text on the image already.
Okay, so in GIMP, you want to use this tool. You can't see my, can you see my cursor? Oh, great. Okay, so it's right here. This is a screenshot, but it's right here. It's the text tool. You draw, I took it here and I held down my mouse and I drew the space that I want the text to be in, and then I typed it out. And unfortunately, this isn't I'm not actually in GIMP here, but so I can't show you the process of actually how that works, but you hold your mouse down, you draw the square where you want your text to be, you type it in, You can adjust the size. You know, when you click on the A right here, an interface appears with all the standard, you know, bold, italic stuff. I can't show you literally how it works, but I made one text box that was Gov Walker, and I made it bigger and that size, and I made another one right below it that was this copy and Railway font. And then I could move it around however I wanted.
Here are two related questions.
Yeah.
How do you move graphics to Facebook, and how do you add the link to Track?
Okay, so let's go here. Is there actually a way I can open up a browser? And
let me see. If you go to right in here, go to app sharing, or
you know, I don't know if I can do that.
There might not be time.
So let's look at here. So if you're a page admin for your Facebook page, you have the option to either write a status, do a photo, or an offer an event. We don't really use those as much. So when you click photo and video, you get this option pop up. You click on here, and then it'll ask you to select the file, the image file. So when you were in GIMP and you said export, or when you were in PowerPoint and you took the screenshot and you saved the screenshot, whether you save it on your desktop or whether you save it somewhere else, you go and find where it was, and then it loads up, and you see a little you see the little preview right here. Bitly links are that may be for another training. If you go to bit.ly, you can open up an account, and you can shorten links with it, and then it's really useful to see how many clicks on each link you get. It creates like a unique URL for each, for whatever you want to create it for. So this goes to a petition. I just wanted to use it as a sample. This goes to a petition about raising the minimum wage. And you paste it in there as copy. I don't know if that helped necessarily.
I'm just giving them, a URL where they can go and get more information later on. It depends. I mean, it's a little bit after the time if you want to wrap up now, or if you want to answer another question or two. They're right here. I think the only one that we haven't really answered is how do you track how many people have looked at your graphic?
So if you're a page admin, you will see a number. The difference between being a page admin and just visiting some Facebook page that you're not an admin of is when you're the admin, you see a lot of extra stuff. You have insights. You have editing options. You can ban people from the page, edit comments, hide comments. And you also will see a number below each post you have. It'll literally say, 3,000 people reached or 0 people reached. And, that you don't get the numbers sort of instantly, but if you go back after an hour or so, you can see, oh, this was shared 10 times and, 300 people saw it. And that's just one of the insights you get as an admin. I can't remember off the top of my head if we will have a Facebook page administration training separate from this, but if you combine some of those skills and some graphic design skills, you can start creating some really compelling content that'll help you grow your page. And if you are on the One U Digital hashtag, or my email is dfoote@workingamerica.org, DFOOTE. I can take some of those further questions later. It is 4:05. Do we have any?
You got a lot of thanks.
Oh,
and,
great.
Yeah. Thank you all very much, and thank you for your patience
thank
while
you.
we worked through some of the technical issues.
Yeah. I'm good at Facebook pages, but not sound management, I guess. So we all have our strengths.
We're working through the bugs. Thank you very much. And check back at the URL that I just sent to everybody. In a couple of days, we'll have information on how to access this PowerPoint and how to access a video of this training.
Great. Thank you, guys.